fantasy short stories. The Ballad of Robinson Clyde by Alexander D. Jones. Down in the valley that nobody knows the name of lives a very old man, a man who'd seemingly been there since time began. He was the last line of defense. Nobody had asked him. He took it upon himself. He sat in his hut, 4 walls, 3 windows, 2 doors, 1 roof. All hours he sat, waiting, watching the skies, guarding the valley that nobody knows the name of. They always landed in the valley, never quite the same place, never the same time, but every day one came, down in the valley that nobody knows the name of. The old man would wait. He'd rock in his chair, back and forth, gun on lap, waiting, watching, rocking, glancing around the sides of the valley that nobody knows the name of. When dark came, as it did for 30 minutes of every day, he'd stand and flick a switch, and on would come the lights. Big, bright lights to illuminate the valley that nobody knows the name of. When the second sun rose, he would stand once again and turn off the lights, letting the sun do its job, and he'd sit again, watching, waiting, gun on lap, rocking back and forth, waiting, watching the skies over the valley that nobody knows the name of. And every day, he'd win. The metal orb would come, heard before it was seen, whistling across the sky. The people would come running to the edge of the valley to watch. The orb would screech down into sight, breaking the atmosphere. Then, when it seemed to be too late, a chute would emerge. The orb would slow and crunch into the floor of the valley that nobody knows the name of. The man would rise, up and out of his chair, cock his gun, and emerge from the hut. He would take several steps out into the long grass and stop dead still. Silence. He was waiting, watching, not moving, still. He was listening, waiting for the scratching to begin, waiting for the crunching. Watching the orb that came down into the valley that nobody knows the name of. After a few minutes pass, the scratching gets louder and the crunching begins. The man brings the gun up, moves his finger to the trigger, waiting, watching. Then a crunch, and the orb begins to buckle. It bursts. A creature born of nightmares, covered in black, roars from the orb, ready to scourge the valley that nobody knows the name of. The man sets his sights, waits, watches. The creature adjusts, looks at the man, as every other one always has. It hisses, long and loud, to leave a ringing in the ears. Bang! The creature slumps, dead, over the edge of the orb as the gunshot echoes around the valley that nobody knows the name of. The man lowers his gun, still looking at the creature, waiting, watching. No movement. Dead for sure. He made the mistake once, not again. He waited, watched some more, finally nodded, raised a hand to the watching crowd, lowered his head. He knelt on the floor and pulled up a handful of grass, let it go in the wind before turning back towards his hut in the valley that nobody knows the name of. And so he sat once again as he did every time in his hut with 4 walls, 3 windows, 2 doors, and a roof, waiting, watching, wondering if they will ever stop coming down to the valley that nobody knows the name of. They say he still sits, rocking in his chair, gun on his lap, waiting for the orbs and watching the skies. That poor old man, name of Robinson Clyde. Alexander D. Jones is an author who is just starting out on his literary journey. He loves putting characters in situations that he would never end up in himself. Currently, he is working, very slowly, on a novel. You might see his name on a shelf in your local bookstore in a couple of years. Hey guys, bit of an experiment for you today. I've never had a story quite like this one, so I figured I'd give it a shot and see what you guys thought. If you did like it, Alexander D. Jones has been on the channel quite a few times, so I'll leave a link to where you can find his other work. And I'd like to apologize for missing so many episodes lately. Without getting into it too much, one of the things that's been holding me back is I've been having a lot of eye issues again. Nothing too major. The doctor says that I'll be just fine as long as I keep getting injections, but it's just every couple of weeks it seems I can't really see much of anything, and reading is especially hard. He's got me on a new medication, and we're hoping that this one does better than the last. But either way, all my health metrics are looking good, so it seems to just wax and wane as to whether or not it's affecting me. But I want to try to be a lot more consistent this year, and that'll be my New Year's resolution that I actually try to keep out of all the others. My plan is to hopefully get a couple of stories that I can record ahead of time, because right now I'm recording everything basically the night before you hear it. If I can get on top of that, then anything that I have to miss, I should have something I can put in its place. At least that's the plan. We'll see how it works. If you guys did like this story, be sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment if you're on YouTube. Or if you're listening to the podcast, just be sure to subscribe for more brand new short stories. I'm Chris Herron, and that's it for today's Tall Tale TV.